the Irish Song and Recitation Festival, home of song, story, and poetical proverb. You are at the Irish Roots Cafe, and I am Mick the Bridge, your host. This is one of 3 broadcast series here at the cafe. The other 2 cover Irish family history worldwide and the history of the Irish in America. Oroche da Vahawalia. So step right up to the microphone, folks. Consider calling in at 816-256-3360. Then you just speak, sing, or play your piece proudly into my phone recorder. If it fits, we will place it on the air in a future show. But remember, it's all for free and it's all for fun, and tens of thousands of our listeners are looking forward to each show. And why is that? Because every day's a holiday at the Irish Roots Cafe. Reach me anytime, and be sure to read my show notes for this episode on my webpage at www.irishroots.com. Now let's move into the big back room here at the cafe and have a listen to what's being served up today. Welcome to the Irish Roots Cafe, and we're kicking off our second season here. We've had a little respite over the summer, but we're coming back in style. This is the 5th annual Irish Song and Recitation Festival here at the cafe, and we're kicking it off today with a special guest by the name of Michael Collier, and we're going to get not only a recitation, but a song too, and that's going to be a song that goes back a ways. We're going to let Michael explain it, and I guess he's just gotten off the stage there. He's been on twice today already, which is really amazing. And I got him back here in the room, and Peter just left, and he's out there doing one of his famous solos. And we got Michael here, so I thought it'd be a treat for us today to learn some things that most of us really don't know. I know I didn't. Michael, how are you?
No, not too bad today. This is really great to have this. I'm glad to be able to bring this.
Well, I tell you, it's the 5th year, and each year it keeps getting bigger and better, and I think we're going to have to start sending out engraved invitations to keep the crowd down. We don't want one of these gigantic festivals. Just a nice small thing is what we started with.
Well, that'd be very Irish, just to have a few people in a room in a pub, a pint of Guinness, and a few songs.
Well, that's right. And I heard that the other day after hours, after all the formal competition, you were in the pub, and you actually gave a little recitation from a stool in the corner.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was wondering if you might tell us a little bit about that recitation, where you picked it up, or if you know any history of it, or if it's just one of those folk tales that comes down to people. Tell us a little bit about that recitation.
Okay, well, I first heard this in a pub in West Clare. It's one of those great old Irish rural pubs that no longer exists. And the guy's name was Patrick Lynch. He used to do these recitations at the end of the evening, after the dancing and the music from the local farmers and farmer musicians and some singing. Those were just great evenings.
Now, what town was that in West Clare?
Okay, now this is a community. You wouldn't call it a town.
Right.
A community called Coor.
Right.
And this is really in the middle of nowhere in West Clare. I mean, I couldn't tell you how to get there.
Oh, now that's perfect. What's close to it?
It's south of Milltown Malbay,
okay,
where the Willie Clancy Summer School is, and it's inland a ways from Spanish Point, southeast of Spanish Point, Quilty, just east of Mullock. And of course, you know all those places, right?
Right. Well, hey, being in OLaughlin, I've been to Clare more than once.
Uh-huh.
You've got to take care of your own county. Now, which county would your line come from?
There are 2 lines that I know of. One are the Keenans, father's mother's family. They came in 1840 from Belfast area on
Right.
Trim down. The Keenan family well known in the north.
Right.
They're all over the place. And then there's a McNamara line, which I know less about, and
Right.
they're from South Clare,
Right.
Southwest Clare.
That'd make sense.
And McNamara, of course, is a well-known name in Clare.
Right.
So I don't know what exact family or where exactly they came from.
Well, they got a few castles there, and I even had a fella that's done a lot of help with the journal here. He's written articles about famous McNamaras, and at one time he even said the O'Laughlins descended from the McNamaras, but I had to say, now wait a minute, the O'Laughlins don't descend from the McNamaras. They're on an equal footing, but I'm not exactly sure of that. But I digress. We better get back to the recitation.
Okay. So this recitation is called macaronic, and it uses a bit of the Gaelic language, a few words.
Right.
Now, you don't really have to understand Gaelic to understand the recitation.
Right.
It's not very long. The guy who did these things used to memorize whole Robert Service poems. I don't know if you know those, but those go on for pages.
Ah, yes,
And
yes. And how long is this one?
This one's just a page and a half.
So they don't have to go out and bring their lunch in?
No.
Oh, okay,
This
good,
is
good.
very short.
And is there any more background to it?
I don't know who wrote it.
Right.
I don't know if anybody does.
Right, those are the best.
Yeah.
Usually the oldest.
It's got to be relatively recent, at least latter half of the 20th century. I first heard it in the 80s when Patrick recited it. So it wasn't too much older than that.
Okay.
Okay, so it goes. Now follows a bilingual tale, which is a sad, seductive scale concerning lust, without discretion. Agus bagnach rudiella freshen. So, Urawan, fado, on a little farm near Carraroe, lived Micheál Mór named Micheál Mór, an only son of 34. When work was done at end of day, he'd settle down with coupon tay, and seldom felt he'd time to stroll or spend the evening time egol. His intellectual needs were drawn from books like Peg and Isagon. So it was, bleein' in, bleein' out, our Micheál hadn't moved about. Oh, he dreamt of Colleen's, most men do, but had never sinned. And diggin' to? Meanwhile, up in Bailaclia, a Colleen Jass had a bright idea. When Lehanta Sira time came by, decided she would like to try Och Cune Jog, like Carraroe. No foreign food, and not far to go. There to meet the native clan. I guess, Bajor, find yourself a man. This Colleen Jass, with eyes so blue, was known in town as City Sue. The lusty Bochely came crawling, and all agreed she was O'Laughlin. She left her men in stakes of shock. Oh, Micheál Mór, be Cormac. This scarlet woman knows each trick. She's heading west. Beware of Vic. The light shone in the parish hall for the local Fania wearers' ball. Vi Micheál Aun, vi Susie Aun, dressed in a most revealing gown. Our brave Cuchulainn of the West, his hurling medals cross his chest, exclaimed when City Sue came in onim day, well, feck shin. Though nervous still, he'd take a chance. Caed me la falcha, will you dance? Go lua, on the floor they strut, cheek to cheek, from head to foot. Sue whispered into Micheál's ear, Eshtlum now, let's disappear. We'll use my place, the door's unlocked. You'll stay the night in Shomra Ahocht. Hagrist! Micheál's head was in a spin, ni Rache thinking thoughts marshin. He blessed himself. This Jezebel would surely draw his soul to hell. He stood aghast, could hardly stutter, so off he bolted ere a roher, straight a while into bed, and decades of the rosary said. Micheál Mór still sleeps alone in a lob of yog, Ochon, Ochon. He often dreams of Shomer Ahocht, what might have been. Oh, Micheál Bocht. Sinead.
Ah, that's a good one. Now, I noticed a couple of words there. You're going to know a lot more words than I do. And I know that Fado Fado I saw at the Shimsha Tir Theater in Tralee. They have every year. I almost go back and used to go see that, and it meant
Yeah,
the long ago.
Long ago. Yeah, I've been to the Shamsatira too.
Yeah, that's
long ago.
That's a treat for everybody.
It is.
Now, what are some of the other phrases in there and words that translate to the English for people like me?
Okay, so sad, seductive scale. Scale is just a story. Story, news concerning lust without discretion. I guess Bognak Rudy Ella Freshen, and little else.
Yeah.
A few Bognak little, a few things else also Freshen. Urwan is like the starting of stories. Once upon a time, it's Urwan, one time.
So it's like Obi-Wan. No, that's another story, isn't it? Yeah,
That's right. Wukuma, good boy. Kupante, a cup of tea. Or spend his evening time egg ol, drinking.
Yeah.
Peg and Isagon. Peg is the autobiography of Peg Sayers, the storyteller from Blasted Moor.
That's right.
Who lived in the early part of the 20th century.
And that book came out when? 50s or?
Probably earlier, 40s. I'd have to look again.
Yeah. But I know it's a really well-known book, and a lot of people recommend it if you want to learn about the older way of life.
And yes, it's in translation also, so you can find the translations of it. And
well, I didn't think I'd be able to read it completely in the Irish.
Unfortunately, a lot of children were sort of inflicted with Peg because it's not standard Irish and it's not easy Irish. It's very far Kerry dialect.
Oh, well, and boy, those dialects, really, if you listen to some of the speakers, it almost sounds like a different language sometimes.
Indeed.
Which makes it so harmful. And just a mention on language, what's the state of the Irish language today? I know it's officially adopted in places, but as far as being alive in the country, how does it stand?
It's very poor, unfortunately. There are very few places in Kerry and Cork, Connemara, and up in Donegal that still speak it in their daily lives. It's just not the language of commerce, of business.
Right.
And even though there's a great movement to teach people Gaelic as a second language, really.
Right.
And there are many Gaelic colleges where students will go. This is grade school level.
Right. I've heard that they've actually been increasing, and there's people yelling for more of them. So that's the only good thing I've heard in a while.
That's the good thing.
Yeah.
And that's great. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, apparently they've been real successful, and the kids, a lot of people had complained that, well, if the kids go there, their grades in everyday subjects are going down because they've got to learn so much of another language, but it's turned out the opposite. Their test scores are higher than folks who aren't in those schools, so that could be a lesson for all of us.
Indeed. Broaden your mind, learning more languages.
Oh, that's right. Now that if people want to... well, I don't know. Is that on the internet? Your recitation there? Where would they find an original? We'll put it on our blog for sure, and let people.
I got words off the internet.
Yeah, so they can be found.
They can be found.
Yeah, good.
I did not remember them just from having heard them once.
Now, can you give us a little one-paragraph summary of what that recitation said? Just flat out simple.
Well, it talks about a young farmer, 34 years old, who was an athletic player, and he's very conservative in his upbringing and religious. And when a young woman comes to Carraroe, and Carraroe is a Gaeltacht, Connemara Gaeltacht town,
right.
where I was one time for a Gaelic class.
Right.
And great little place. When she, how shall I say, comes on to him.
Oh, my.
He is a little bit scared by the prospect and runs away.
He's led a sheltered life.
A very sheltered life.
I see.
So,
And that's sort of the end of the whole thing. He got scared off of the whole deal.
yeah,
But he ends up just as good as when he started.
absolutely.
That's
still,
interesting.
Still wondering what would have happened if I had taken her up.
That's right. Very interesting. These recitations, you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah.
Any other? If somebody's looking for recitations, where would you suggest they look?
I have a couple of books of Ulster recitations. That doesn't mean they're really limited to Ulster.
Right.
Ulsterbooks.com. A friend of mine who's not really doing that officially anymore. John, and I can't think of his last name right now.
Well, they also call those reciters.
Yeah.
If you get the Ulster reciter, and it means the same thing. There's things that you recite, so it's a recitation. So you might also look for recitations and reciters. And I know there's several little books I've seen out, real slim volumes. But it seems like those people in the past had more time to memorize several pages.
I've heard people who have memorized incredibly long passages of different kinds, Irish poems, American. In fact, the first time I heard Patrick Lynch, he started up at the end of an evening reciting The Face on the Barroom Floor. I don't know if you know that long Western.
I've heard of it, but
poem.
I've never really heard the whole thing.
Yeah, I may. That's maybe the only time I've heard the whole thing recited too. That back about 85.
Oh yeah.
And in other times when I've been in smaller groups sessions, not only will they have the music, a dance, people singing, and they'll have somebody do a recitation also, or two or three.
I like it when you sit around the table and everybody gets their turn. You can sing a song or do a recitation. That's really more fun than just sitting at a pub and doing nothing.
Absolutely.
Just looking at the pretty girls. You get the pretty girls over the table and take turns saying things or singing things and have some fun.
Yeah, that really makes an evening.
It does. And you show more of your personality there and it's easier than any other way, I think.
That sort of thing got formalized a little bit in what the Irish called your party piece. In other words, you had to have one piece that you could bring out and sing at any time. And of course, the real people had many pieces.
Yeah.
Like Patrick Lynch, he had, dozens of, he still does, he's still quite alive, dozens of things he could recite. And he's recorded once that I know of officially and commercially on a book, a CD of music and song from West Clare, and he's got a good recitation there about the liberator of Ireland, Daniel O'Connell.
Oh, that's right.
And Daniel O'Connell's confrontation with a woman in Dublin who was known for her acid tongue. And
the master of the caustic invective.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've heard. That they referred to the Donahues like that. Marnie Dew, who was O'Connell's grandmother, I think it was. And she was master of the caustic invective. And looking at some of her descendants in my family, I understand the term.
Yes, indeed.
Well, tomorrow night we're going to have, it's actually recitation night here at the cafe. And I understand they've appointed you to watch the door, and everybody has to say a recitation as they come in. Now, if they don't have one memorized, will you have a little sheet they can cheat from and just give you a paragraph or so?
Oh, absolutely. We wouldn't want to keep anybody out.
That's right. And it gets everybody into the spirits of things.
And as long as they contribute a little bit like that.
Well, that's right. Now, do you have any parting comments here? I'm going to get you back here in just a second, and we'll use that for the next episode in this next series of the Irish Song and Recitation Festival broadcast. But I wonder, is there anything else you want to bring up before we break? And I'll get you back here in a couple hours after your next appearance.
Yeah, well, one thing about recitations is you don't have to be able to sing. You can just recite these things, and you just have to memorize. You could start off with small, and you work it up, Not having to sing, not having to play an instrument, not having to even dance. Anybody can recite.
That's right. You can even start with a paragraph.
That's right.
I guess
Absolutely.
It could even be a jingle almost.
Mm-hmm.
There was an old man from Spain. It could be anything.
Many songs can be recited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Many recitations can be sung.
That's right. Well, hey, we invite all you folks out there, if you can't come to the festival each year and This is the 5th year, but if you can't make it, we want to keep it quiet, I think, but we're going to invite the whole world to join us here on the broadcast, so you can call in at any time. You can send me an email if you want me to talk direct and record you in a phone conversation, or you can just call and leave it on my recorder, and I'll put it there, and we'll make sure this season's better than any of the rest, and I'll be sure to each year report back to you on the actual goings-on at the festival. But for now, that's it for this inaugural, for the first session that we've got in our second series for the Irish Song and Recitation Festival. Michael, we're going to get you back here in 2 hours, and we're going to talk to you then. Everybody else, that's a wrapper for today, folks. I'm Mick the Bridge at the Irish Roots Cafe. You can contact me at mike@irishroots.com, or send your submission or your notes to Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri 64116. And you can always reach me on the web at www.irishroots.com. Call up and leave me your message or your entry on my phone recording machine at 816-256-3360. Just do it today. And oh yes, any donation to keep this show going is appreciated. And remember, keep the best of your Irish heritage alive today.